All right, I'm here today with Rick Magaha. I know, as I've shared before in the past, if you're at the horses or have been in the last 40 years,
Somewhere around there.
okay, you know who Rick is. Rick is on our board of directors, our board for the Speed Association too. But not only that, as I've shared with you, shown for many, many years. Rick, how long you been doing this?
Started when I was about 8 years old and got really active in the Breeders Association in about 1975. Won many world champions, won many world grand championships. My biggest achievement was in 1986. We had 59 horses go in the class. Danny Rhines, Kurt Asbury, Richard Hickey. That long ago, I still remember. My number was 995. We had 3 workouts and went out with back then we said triple tie, not unanimous.
Right.
But actually, and then I actually went a 4-year period being undefeated on Shades Exterminator and then the Sports Invader horse and amateur owned and trained.
Right. Early on, early back when we think about when you first started, when we're talking about 8 years old or whatever, I mean, what did you start riding?
I was riding quarter horses, and then I actually got into Arabians, and then my dad was in the Shriners in Atlanta, which I became a Shriner at 20 years old, and they had a black walking horse division with, like, they have the clown division, and then they have the dune buggies. They had a black walking horse, and I always wanted to be in that. And then when I became 20, I got into that. We wore the fezzes, of course. We have mounted patrol pants like Canadian Royal Mounties, and rode in plantation saddles, so that was kind of neat. Did that. Then I got involved with the Sheriff's Posse Association, and we would do parades with that also.
That's neat.
Yes, sir.
Neat. You know, most people seem like that I've talked to, the early years, when we're talking, we were from 4, 8, 9 years old, I mean, early on, it seemed like once they got started into that, it was something they never got out of. I mean, now some get out for a year or so and come back in, but I mean,
yes, sir.
But once you get into that and really get, what is there different about this versus so many other sports?
Well, it's almost like an addiction when you get into it, and it's competitive, and you make that victory pass. You want to do it again and again and again, and win the roses and win the trophies. And like I said, I did it as a juvenile, and then as my dad got older and he got out of it, I stayed in it and continued to show, and then got my children into it, involved in it. But you know, it's just something that it's enjoyable and keeps you out of trouble, and been doing it for years and years.
But what I've seen what I've noticed with you and what I see out of you, I mean, you're extremely good sport. All right. I mean, now you might not be when you get home with honey, okay? But I mean, you really are. I mean, you'll. I mean, I listen to you, okay? And that doesn't mean you don't think you should do better sometimes. That's not what a good sport is. I mean, a good sport still thinks they got their butt kicked when they shouldn't have got it kicked. I don't mean that. But I mean, you go ahead and you say, well, I thought I'd done good or my horse done good. I mean, why?
I was involved with a lot of trainers over the years, and to answer your question, you know, I learned to keep my mouth shut, and you go back to the trailer. And as a good friend told me growing up through all this, and I was around Matt Cass and Roger Lewis and Roy Bean and a lot of the people that we showed horses with, and they would always say, go back to the trailer and don't fuss up by the riding ring. And I kind of took that and learned from it, you know, because we used to have an adage, take what they give you, because they're going to take a lot more than they give. But it seemed like the more you were nice and shook people's hand and congratulated people, no matter what the outcome, it just seems to benefit you more. And I was youth minister for 14 years, and I'm good about turning my other cheek. Sometimes I turn it so many times that
your head spins.
It gets old.
But I think sometimes we forget about that. And I've shared this, and I know people get tired of that, but I mean, you got 7 minutes in the ring, okay? And we got these other 24 hours and 23 hours and 30 minutes outside out here with people.
Yes, sir.
And I think the relationships that you build in the midst of all this, I mean, I listen to you talking to Mac, and we talking to different people as we go along. And these relationships are really great.
Absolutely. That's where I met my wife at, you know, is in the horse industry. And, you know, it's a getaway. It's like, we don't take many vacations, but we go to a lot of horse shows over the weekends throughout the year, and it's our break. But, you know, and it's like last night, I rode in a class with 20 horses. I rode out with third. I was happy. That mean I basically beat 17 horses. So, you know, you have to look at it that way.
Yeah.
First is always better, you know.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
coached my son in football, so I'm very competitive. I played football throughout high school and some college. So with all that, you know, I'm a competitive person, but it's enjoyable.
Right. Well, you know, when we think about horses now and what's going on in the horse world, I mean, what we're seeing now, and I know we've seen it all in the past, and horses have cycles we go through, but we're seeing 3 and 4 first place horses in the class.
Exactly.
Okay. So, I mean, it is a roll of the dice and it is a gamble, but I mean,
Yes,
we're actually seeing, I mean, I really am telling you, when we're looking at the class, we say, you know, last night we made, there's 3 first place horses. Or there's,
exactly.
yeah. And,
yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, we have more competition and we've had better horses coming in, and the speed association's growing tremendously. You know, where before we were kind of like low on the totem pole, and now we have the most entries at most of our shows we go to, and so it's a great thing, and it's a horse that you can put children on. We have juvenile classes, ladies classes, men's, and so we have a lot of different, you know, places to show our horses.
One of the things you and I talked about before with the Speed Association, with the board, is as our goal is to bring and to bring more respect. They've got respect, but I want to increase the respect for those speed horses.
Absolutely.
If they're country, if they're open, if they're amateur or only trained or juvenile, I'm going to keep bringing the respect and keep raising it up for those horses.
Exactly.
And that's hard. You know, we got to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. We're building, and more people are talking about it. We're getting more people involved in Chuck a Duck and the stuff that we do for our Speed Association. And we also have some great auction items here that people need to come out and check out.
These are all fundraisers that we work on, and we
Absolutely.
do. And it takes, when we talk about being a member, like in association, if it's speed or juvenile or amateur, whoever it is, what you got to do is remember, you think, well, if I'm just a member, then I can't, Matt going by here just a minute ago, we'll tell you some things
Bring
about him.
Bring some of that moonshine back.
What I'm saying is, when you just join them, it means a lot.
Absolutely.
And you say, well, I can't do a lot, or I can't do this, but your membership means a lot in those groups. If you just join them, it does mean a lot. Well, what have you seen when you think about things changing? Things are always changing and moving forward. Okay, what have you seen? So what are some of the changes in horse shows that stand out to you?
Well, over the years, you know, the competition's gotten, you know, better and better horses going in the ring, and, you know, and the speed horses are getting a lot better than they used to. They're breaking a lot higher, and we have horses, you know, in country speed breaking level, and it's funner to watch. And then you know, and then everybody likes the open speed classes, seeing the fast horses going around the ring. So
yeah, you know, we shared before, and I was talking to Kendall earlier on. We were talking about how horses, you know, and we'll get people that complain. They'll say, well, these horses nowadays are pacing. These horses, other horses, not. But I can have, in the same minute, I have somebody saying, trouble is they're too square. And somebody else saying, well, these are step pacing. These are doing that. Well, yeah, you're probably right. Everybody can be doing a little bit of that at some point in time.
Yes,
all right. But one horse's rack is another person's step pace sometimes too.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you got to understand that if you're in the middle of that ring, and them horses are going around you in 7 minutes, a lot of times you're not going to see a horse but twice.
Exactly.
Okay, but twice, and it's a big job for that judge.
I've held a judge's license for years and years, and the horses look completely different when you're sitting in the stands, as opposed to standing in center ring and judging a horse. So it's a different world, and as we always say, just go take the test and do your apprenticeship, and if you think you can do a better job, then we need more judges all the time.
I had a fellow stop me the other day, and they said anybody could do better. I said, well, why don't you tell anybody to come and fill out and judges application?
Absolutely, we need a lot of anybody.
We need people there, and if you're out there too, don't be afraid. I mean, come in. The Breeders has a tremendous apprentice program, a tremendous judges program. They got people that will work with you. If you feel like you want to judge horses, they'll work with you, won't they?
Absolutely,
they'll work with you. You can get in there and do that. It's not a bit of trouble to do that. I don't see no problem with that. I mean, you can do. Well, let me ask you this: we covered some horses and horse show. If you think of a horse, and I know you can name off 30. You got a memory; it's crazy, okay? But I mean, if you think of a horse or two that's really stood out that you've had in your mind that you really liked.
probably the Shades Exterminator horse. You know, back when I was showing a lot of padded horses in the late 70s through the 80s, he had never been beat over 72 times in the ring, and I think 32 of those I got the outstanding achievement 3 years in a row from the Rack and Review back in the day. And as I said, 32 of those were triple ties.
Yeah.
So he was a great horse and had a fun time with him. I had been president of the Georgia Association at the time. But we're on a comeback now in the Breeders' Association. It's doing a lot better, and we're seeing more new faces in here than we've seen in a lot of years. You know, we had some transition moving from Decatur, Alabama, over here to Shelbyville, but I think a lot of people, for the most part, are happy with being over here.
I really do too. I mean, you know, and I'm a big Shelbyville fan. Okay, Absolutely. And I haven't hit it a bit, and I've almost gotten a couple wrestling matches. Me and Mark was the only one that really scared me, because I know he could really whip me pretty bad. But we were discussing, you know, he's talking about, well, we need a home and we need this, and I understand all that. But I'm telling you, this is such a great facility. Shelbyville, Tennessee, is to have a horse show.
Absolutely.
It's hard to beat it. It's going to be really hard to beat it, but it really is. But what we're talking about now, we're talking about you. Okay, so now let's deal with this area. Okay, now to do what you do, and I don't know how you keep up with it, the horses and everything and what you got going on in here. Do you have at your home, and I know you just moved, okay, do you have one of those oil wells up in the front that you get some kind of revenue off of, or do you have some kind of a is Honey independently wealthy, and she brought all this, like, tons of gold into the relationship where you can afford to do how do you do what you do?
It's just hard
I'm just
work.
asking. I want to make sure
I've worked all my life, and and at 65 years old, I'm still working 12, 14-hour days some days, and good Lord has blessed me through all of it, and that enables us to do what we want to do with the horses. So, because it is an expensive hobby.
It is. It really is.
But we've done it for years, and Honey loves it. Honey loves to ride a good horse.
Right.
And we have arguments on that, because I like bare-legged horses and she likes chain horses.
Right.
So, but now we can swap with the new rules from show bare-legged one night and chain the next. So that helped out.
that was something, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
That really was.
Brought in more interest.
I just now, you know, and that has just now really come to light. Just the rule has just come through, hasn't it?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Yeah.
We actually got a horse right now that we can show back. He's qualified to go in juvenile. He's qualified to go in the bare-legged stake. He's qualified to go in the chain stake. Yeah,
and one of the issues we're running into with speed horses is being able to qualify them, and I think we can adjust those things as we go along.
Absolutely.
Where we can qualify them for different classes, because we're getting a little limited on our speed horses where they can't go but here. You know, if it's amateur owned and trained, we got a little bit of a question. They can still own the horse and go back in this other class if you're on the papers as an owner, but it's a little tough to do those things, but we're clearing it up.
Yes,
really are. We're clearing it up.
Things are looking really good.
So you don't
got people that are coming together throughout all this.
So you don't have the oil well.
Don't have an oil well.
And Honey didn't have the bars of gold.
No.
But so what you're doing? So you're saying you have to work.
Absolutely, and this is a hobby that people can get into with a horse and show. You know, you can show on a lower level, or you can get to the mid, or you can go all the way up to getting stake horses. But it's, you know, I've owned boats and everything, and they're all expensive. So
you know what you do? I think, and I was talking to Matt earlier today. We were talking about horses. He was talking about the horse he's got. Well, I tell you what, I seen a horse win last night, and the person with me said I could have bought that horse for $6,500 back in the summer. The guy asked me if I wanted to buy that horse.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it sit there and won last night. He said, I wish I'd have bought the horse.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's horses. A horse, you and I both know, a horse don't know what it's worth or what you get for it.
Exactly.
Have no idea. But I mean, to be able to see a horse, and it's a project, but a horse has got some natural ability. There's nothing to replace natural ability.
Absolutely.
Draw reins won't replace it. Okay, and lead won't replace it. I mean, you know what? You might exaggerate something, but a good natural horse that'll drop his head back in your lap.
That's a lot of money.
That's worth a lot of it.
And a lot of enjoyment.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I have seen you get on a horse or two that was a little energetic. Does that make sense?
I've had them standing on their hind legs and get them in the ring. I had one riding the other night in the class and got up on him, and 3 different trainers ran over to grab a hold of him, and I just gave the reins to his mouth, and we were good.
I thought, should I record this? Because it might be good for TikTok or something. I thought, is he? And I thought, well, no, I'm not going to do this. I thought, but man, I thought I wouldn't have gave a nickel for you there for a few minutes. But you
I
stayed
used to
on.
break colts when I was young, and I'm used to that. I mean, the only
Yeah.
problem I have now, that ground's not as soft as it used to be, and I've hit the ground in the last few years. You're going to on some of these
Yeah,
young horses,
right, right.
But yeah, you know,
It's good.
I'm not the best rider, but I can stay on one normally.
Well, all
And
right.
my wife, she'll ride anything. She gets on them, and
Right.
her ex-husband was a trainer, so she's rode
Yeah.
rank horses, and she can ride them.
All right, that's a good area. Let's sort of branch over here just a little bit. You and Honey seem to really get along good. Okay, I mean, it seems like a great relationship, and I won't tell you why I think so, but I'm trying to about her how good and patient she is. But I mean, and she's told me that. But I'm thinking,
Yes,
what do you think makes this relationship you and her knit together?
Oh, I would say, you know, because we have the, you know, the same, you know, things that we do together. We, you know, when we go to dinner, we know where we're going to dinner together. We, you know, of course, when you're dealing with your wife, you just let her have everything she wants, and you don't have any problems. So that's
See,
part of it.
That's a good key.
But like, you know, with the horses, we love the horse industry, so
Mhm.
we have those commonalities in common with each other, and I think that's
Right.
the secret to our marriage. We have some disagreements. We never hardly ever argue about anything.
Right, right. And it seems like
Because I let her know she's always right.
Well, I listened to her. Okay, I liked the other day when she got you on going and getting. Was it her drink or what was it out of the car? We were sitting there at the table, and she said, "Are you going to go
It was
get?"
probably her smoky thing, her vape.
Are you going to go get it for me out of the car? You said, I just sat down. She said, okay, I'll go get it. I'll just go get it.
No,
and then
but I ran and got it because I knew that meant to go get it when she said she
yeah.
was
So then,
but I had already gotten up and gotten about 10 things.
Right.
But it was fine.
But and I told her when she sat back down, I said, you played that well. She said, well, I know because I've done it before. She handled it. She handled it just as good as
she does well.
I think one thing in relationships is respect.
Absolutely.
Okay, and being nice.
Yes, sir.
You know, just be nice. And I said, don't be.
And if we carry that on into the horse industry, we'd all get along.
And we're getting glimpses of it. We do from
Right.
time to time. We really do. I mean, there's a lot more good than there is bad.
But horse folks stick together. That's just like we had a horse show up in Cleveland, Tennessee, and we had a woman had a flat on the side of the road, and nobody had that particular spare but me. And we had already gone 50 miles past her, heading back to Atlanta, and she was heading towards Suches, Georgia, which is up near Blue Ridge. But I got the call, and there was no hesitation. We got off the next exit, right. Turned around, and we went back. And instead of getting home at 2 o'clock in the morning, I got home at about 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, but I have she has just thanked me 100 times over since then, and that's what we do. We help each other out.
I think it too. It's a different type of spirit and camaraderie. It really is. And you know, I see similar stuff even in car racing. I watch guys that I know that, man, they work on each other's cars and do stuff and help them. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. There's so many. There's way more good out there than there is bad.
Absolutely.
But I've shared this. Sometimes we can talk about the bad because, and I call it the cat poop syndrome. Okay, you can walk all day in a field of daisies and beautiful hay and flowers, and you can get close to home and step in one little pile of cat poop. And when you get home, all you're going to talk about is the cat poop.
Yes, sir.
And I think sometimes that we as humans we'll talk more about the bad part, and we miss that good part. Now, and the biggest reason is the good part don't make money.
Exactly.
Good news don't make money.
Yes, sir.
Hurricanes make money.
That's right.
All that advertising, all that stuff. And there's so much good in the horse business. There really is.
Absolutely.
Who are people that stand out in your mind that have really influenced you over the years? And I know there's a lot of them.
I think back when I was young, you know, you had on particular nights, you'd have Jimmy Yeager in a class, you'd have Gerald Campbell, Wilford James, some of the biggest of the bigs back in the day, and the trainers. And there could be several horses going around the ring, and it was almost like flipping a coin because they were so equal back then. And but a lot of them influenced me over the years. And then Mac Hess and a lot of them were older than me and took me under their wing when I was young. And maybe there were some good things, and there was probably bad things they influenced me with over the years, but overcame those. And I used to run around with them, like I said, when in the 80s era, early 80s. But in this industry, I've always respected Hubbard. I've always thought he was a admirable person.
Yes,
always speaks nice. My wife's father who passed away, Orlando, that him and his wife rode spotted horses for years. And he was an interesting individual, but you could never have anybody say they heard him say a bad thing about anybody. He would clear it up quick. If somebody wanted to talk about somebody, he would go, no, we're not going to talk about them. If we are, let's go over there and see them. And everybody respected him for that. And just, there's been different people. But going all the way back, I'd say Joe Bright. Joe Bright, a lot of people didn't like Joe Bright. But Joe Bright started this in an old Oldsmobile going around to saddle clubs and registering breeders racking horses. And I always liked Joe, and Joe liked me, and we always got along. And he didn't take no junk. If a judge messed up, he'd walk in the ring and everybody would just hush. You could have heard a pin drop, and they knew it was getting ready to happen. And if he tapped him on the shoulder, they knew he was getting ready to walk out the gate without a check.
Right.
So he kept everything in line. But
I heard a lot of good people that I never knew him.
And he was just a tall, thin man, but he was very intimidating.
Right. Well, okay. So we know in a good relationship, respect, taking your time, you know what I mean, and being kind.
Yes, sir.
That makes a big difference. We understood, we cleared up that you don't have a gas well and an oil well. You work hard every day. We got that cleared up, okay? Because we need to know that. People need to know that. They might see him say that, Rick Magaha, I bet he's got a gas well, something like that out there. but
it all comes from God, and I give the glory to God every day in it.
Yes, sir.
I give to whoever needs it and all, and it's amazing how God blesses you. You don't give to get, but it's amazing when you do give, how God seems to bless you, and whatever it is, health. I tell everybody all the time, I'm a billionaire, and they go, you a billionaire? And I go, when it comes to my health, I'm a billionaire, because I know people that have all the money in the world, and they're miserable because they have cancer or they're sick. And my list when I go to bed at night and driving around Atlanta every day is a mile long with the people I pray for that are sick and have things going on. And I just praise God that I'm healthy and able to do what I do at 65 years old.
Well, let me ask you this. When you think about, we talk about business and being in business, okay, and doing what you're doing, I mean, what have you seen change over the years in business when we're talking about this?
Well, I've been in the building industry since I was 19 years old. Started a garage door business with one truck and a rack on it. And then over the years, it didn't take long because I can sell anything to anybody. And I developed into having 15 trucks on the road. And then I got a distribution center where I'd sell doors to myself and other installation companies. And that went really well for years and years. And then the building industry collapsed about 07 and 08. And I wasn't discouraged. I got into other things and started doing electronic iron gates and remodelings. And now my lower end is probably doing garage doors, but on the upper end, I do a lot of remodels and I don't even advertise. I just word of mouth when you do a good job. Somebody says, go see my neighbor, go see my neighbor's neighbor, and I stay busy. And but the building industry's changed a lot over the years, and a lot of people aren't moving because of interest rates and things, so they fix up their houses and add room additions, and I do pretty well everything from slabs and barn dominions and all those type of things.
Well, that's cool. That's neat. I mean, it takes a lot to do those things. All right, we've covered some important topics. We covered money, we covered love, marriage, we've covered horses. But now there's a topic that I think is really important, okay? And we ain't covered it, and it's a pretty sensitive area. Let's talk about music, okay? I mean, music's important, okay?
Absolutely.
And I mean, what kind of music do you really like?
That's really hard to say. I love country music. I love your old George Strait, Garth Brooks, those type folks, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, Willie Nelson. Met a lot of them over the years at different concerts and things because I have a lot of people that program and PR people that know them and got to meet them through charity events. Got to meet Kenny Rogers at a private concert one night for only 25 people.
Man, that's cool.
We literally sat while he sang. But I'm also on the other agenda. I like the hair bands, like your Poison, Def Leppard, Whitesnake. I love those type bands because that was kind of my high school era. I graduated in 1977. So it's kind of a mixture, but leaning towards probably old country.
I graduated in 77. And, I never even went to graduation, though, because I was working the third shift in the coal mines at that time, and I thought, I'm not taking a night off. I just mailed me my diploma. Okay.
I understand.
I see people all the time with the cap and gown. I said, I never got no cap and gown. I had a hard hat and a light. And but I enjoyed it. But I mean, I remember in the 77, I was making $100 a day, and I thought, I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
I'll never need more money than that in my life. Now you can go out and eat, spend that.
And spend more than that
Yeah,
on
it's
dinner.
crazy. It's crazy, ain't it?
Absolutely.
It really is. Well, so music, you got a pretty wide range. What about the rap? Are you much on the rap?
Not a lot on the rap. I do like some of the country rap where
Yeah.
Blake Shelton
Right.
did some mixtures and stuff.
Right.
Other than that,
I have a hard time keeping up with it when I listen to it. I can be way behind and it's still going. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think music's important. And I was giving some advice to Kendall just a minute ago. He don't got no wife. He got a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a boyfriend. And he didn't want to listen much. Okay, Kendall didn't want to listen much.
That's why he's not married.
But he'll pay for that. Going. First thing he was talking about, I asked, what do you? And let me ask you this. Okay, this is important.
Yes, sir.
As a husband, and we've got the music, but I want to back up here to marriage. How do you think you can be a better husband? What do you think you could do?
I can answer that real quick because, again, I was a youth minister, then I was a couples minister throughout Baptist church in my life. I'm in a non-denominational church now, but we used to have a couples class. And what I would always teach them, whether it's a husband or the wife, there's always got to be a peacemaker in the situation. Whether you're right or wrong, somebody has to be less prideful to allow the other person to admit you're wrong, which is hard for a man to do all the time. But that being said, if you're the one that, hey, we need to get past this, I apologize, I was wrong, you'll have a successful marriage. And I'm one to talk about successful marriages because I have been literally through 3 divorces.
Right.
But I'm on.
Well, you ought to have it figured out by now.
I do, and we have got the best marriage because I try not to do the things I understand. And I'm not making any excuses because I did have some wives that weren't the best wives.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
And everybody knows that situation.
You've got now, though, but you know now, and you know where you're at, and you take time. And like you said, the Bible says, blessed is the peacemaker.
Absolutely.
Okay. And a lot of people miss that. Okay. A lot of people want to get involved in the dogfight.
Yes, sir.
Instead of being the peacemaker.
Some people enjoy that, and I don't. I don't like the discrepancies. I don't like the drama. Yeah, I deal with that enough with my clients.
I'm the same way. I understand. Well, and we wanted to make sure we get that part in because.
Yes, sir.
But I don't know exactly what you said about how you could be a better husband. I think you've used a little sales pitch on me there just for a minute, but I mean, you haven't really confessed of something that honey could say, Rick, you remember you said you could do this better.
Oh, there's always things you can do better in your marriages and do better in any relationship with your parents.
But I'm not going to let you buy without naming it.
I'm not. I'm running through my head.
I don't want you to sell me.
I could probably be less prideful because I've always been. I've got Donald Trump syndrome at times, to where I think that, I've done what I've done on my own, and my dad was a very successful man, but my dad never gave me anything. If I wanted a barn and horses, I was out there having to build it and paint it. So I worked for everything, but
okay, but let me, and I'm putting pressure on you.
I understand.
Okay, I want to put the pressure on you. You don't get this on Dr. Phil, okay? All right. If honey is sitting here, and you said, honey, this is what I can do to make your life better, your life easier. Not talking about money. I'm going to hit you hard, okay? I'm not talking about what you could financially do for her. Oh, I could buy her this other horse, or I could do this for her. But I mean, honey.
I could probably listen to her more.
See,
and listen to her wants and needs and desires.
Oh, I'm telling you, son.
And be a good listener.
See, what I see now is like 320 feet that around the ballpark.
She's right there. Exactly.
The ballpark, I see a 320 feet fence, and you're hitting.
Absolutely.
You're almost hitting the scoreboard.
Yeah, I'm batting 370.
So you're going to listen.
Yes,
I mean, to listen more. And I think
be a better listener, absolutely,
yeah,
and be more observant to her wants, needs, and desires. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think that's great. And I think that's a challenge for all of us. I know it is for me. I try my best.
Yes,
and this happens to me sometimes. When I agree, because I don't want to argue about it, and I agree, and Janice says, are you patronizing me? Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I am. You know what I mean? Right. But if I don't agree, and that's a challenge. And I'm working on that on my end. I'm trying my best. We've been married, today makes 42 years for us. And today was, so today I fixed a pot of chili in honor of our anniversary.
There you go.
But anyway, well, I tell you, I appreciate it. I mean, you shared some wisdom
No,
and
I enjoy
knowledge
it,
in
and I
there.
always enjoy sharing. I try to explain to other people how you get where you get, but the biggest thing to do is give God always the honor, the glory, and the praise.
Yeah, yeah.
I give to homeless people every day driving around Atlanta, and they go, "Oh, thank you, God bless you," and I go, "No, God bless me, and that is why I'm able to bless you. I have nothing.
I think if we
It's all
just
belongs to
slow
God
down.
anyway."
So, okay, let me share this, and I cover this topic, and I like to make sure I cover this topic. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if you've heard this, but anyway, when we see somebody, do you ever see somebody that just sort of, and I'm gonna use this word, it's a little aggressive, sort of irks you, and you don't know why. Okay, sort of bother you, and you don't know why they don't make you feel good. But then you don't know them.
Exactly.
But you see somebody else, and you like them, and you don't know why.
Right.
Okay, you see them, you don't know why. I'm gonna tell you my reasoning, okay, and you tell me yours, okay. And I've shared this 100 times, okay. When I see people smile, I tend to like them more, even if I don't know them, okay.
Exactly.
And they might be a car salesman that's coming out trying to make me buy a Buick, okay. Yeah. But when you see, and car salesmen know how to smile,
Absolutely.
okay. And I guarantee you, when you're selling garage doors, you know how to smile.
I
mean, I see people that I like them, and I don't know why I like them. And I was sharing this last night with Blaze Picard. We were standing down there talking about stuff, and I said, I thought about, why do I like you? And I cheer for her all the time when she comes in the ring. Why do I cheer for her? I don't know her that well. You know, we text each other and stuff, but I don't know her that well.
Right.
And I told her, I said, it's because you smile. And I see people that don't smile. And I know nice people that their mouth is sort of made down. They don't smile a whole lot, but they're really good people.
Yeah.
So why is your reasoning? When you see somebody they sort of gripe your drawers, but you see somebody else and you really like them.
I think a lot of times, when you see somebody or you think they have a bad attitude, a lot of times it's because we really don't know them and we don't know what they're going through.
Okay.
I mean, they could have just had the worst day. Their mom or dad could have passed away, their dog, their cat or whatever. Mm-hmm. We don't know what they're going through.
Right.
But there are people like that. You just think that they have a bad attitude. I mean, everybody always, and my wife says it best, she thought the first time she saw me walk by, her mother made the comment, "There's you a single man right there." And she said, "Oh, I could never date him or go anywhere with him. He's an arrogant, prick or whatever." But people learn, and we had some amateurs that we nominated this year, and I sat down and talked with them, and I've had people say, now that I get to know you and hear you talk, all the things I've heard about you. So I probably irk a lot of people, but when they truly get to know me, they know that they can pick up a phone, call me, and middle of the night, and I'm not wanting to make excuses.
Right.
They're calling back and saying, "Oh, I guess you're not coming." And I'm saying, "No, I'm already in the truck. I just need to know where I need to go now." And that's the type, and my wife says it best. I mean, she says, "You take care of everybody, and we don't have time sometimes to get our stuff done because up here I've helped people with several things, and putting air in golf carts and fixing door latches on campers for people. I never say no. They're like, "Rick, can you help me?" Absolutely. And James Beach is the same way. We had a guy the other night, Joe, and he needed to be gotten up here in his wheelchair, and we were going to pull him behind the golf cart, and then we realized that wasn't going to work, so we pushed him all the way up here and got him settled in.
Yeah.
And Joe literally broke down and started crying and said he was always a strong man, and he said, "I hope y'all never have to get in my position." And he just burst out, and James and I both started crying too.
Yeah.
But that's what we do. That's what I said is horse people, we need to help others. And if we do that, we're doing what God tells us to do, basically.
I agree. I think that you should take time. If you'll take time with people,
absolutely,
and just slow down a little bit. And I know everybody gets in a hurry, man. Life
and then we get to know that person, and we realize, I've known Joe for years, and of course he's known, Honey and her mom even longer. And they're just good people. And we ended up buying, I had a friend of mine that has barrel horses, and his daughter wanted a good racking horse, and they had this strawberry roan gorgeous pleasure horse that I told my friend about, and they ended up buying it. James went all the way to Mississippi, picked up the horse and brought it to him. And to this day, they got out of barrel racing, and now they're enjoying showing that horse at Saddle Club shows, and it's a great pleasure racking horse. And it's probably 20 plus years old, but they love it. And Joe and Sandra always ask, did that guy still have that horse? I said, they still love it. And the girls fight over who's going to ride it.
I think slowing down with people and taking a little time. And like we said, I know life gets in a hurry. Everybody
sir.
gets in a dead run, and they get all. I mean, I don't know. It gets to be that way, and we just got to slow down, ease it back just a little bit.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Well, I tell you what, Rick, appreciate you being today.
Appreciate
I've
you
enjoyed
always.
it.
You
You're
know
a
I love
blessing.
you.
Thank you for being on the
God
board.
always gonna take care of us.
And we're okay. If we ain't, we don't know no
I
better.
enjoy it. Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate
65 years old, both of us.
you. Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Seen a lot in 65 years.
As a day, I spoke to a young man that I was talking to him the other day, and he was young, and I said, let's see. I said, I'm going to show you something. I said, how old are you? And he told me, and I said, I'm going to go ahead and give you to 80, that you might make it to 80. And I got out my calculator. I said, you've got 15,733 days left. That's all you got.
And when you look at that, it seems a whole lot shorter.
And I ain't going to say how many I think I got, but you think, I said, you've got 15,000 days left. What are you going to do with it?
Yes, sir.
You know, what are you going to do with it? Are you just going to work yourself to death for a house or a car, or what do you? Well, I mean, it's all right if you want to, but I mean, what are you going to do? And with each other, as we pass each other.
Exactly.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
Appreciate